Good morning, Nick. Thanks a lot for joining us. A memorandum of understanding was signed between International Solar Alliance, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy India, and the World Bank on partnership on the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative at the first International World Technology Summit. Now, given your experience with Climate Parliament and you have been working with several governments in the past decade or so, Nick, we wanted to understand your views on One Sun, One World, and One Grid initiative.
Well, I think the first thing I would say about it is that I'd like to congratulate Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Minister R.K. Singh and everyone else in the government of India who's been involved in launching One Sun, One World, One Grid as a new initiative. I think this is exactly the kind of bold thinking that we need in order to accelerate the transition from fossil fuels to clean energy in all parts of the world. The thing I would underline is the urgency of this. We are moving in this direction. Lots of regional organizations, from ASEAN to the European Union, to the Summit of the Americas, to the African Union, SAARC, and so on, have all agreed that there should be more links between national grids in order to share renewable energy, in order to be able to trade renewable energy. But the process is moving far too slowly to be an effective response to the climate challenge that we're facing. The UN Scientific Panel, the IPCC, has told us that we have a very tight carbon budget that we have to stay within if we are going to avoid driving the planet's temperature beyond 1.5 or 2 degrees centigrade. And it essentially, if we're going to stay within that carbon budget, it means that pretty quickly we have to get to the point where we are not burning fossil fuels, where we're running the whole economy pretty much on clean electricity. And then the question is, where does that electricity come from? We don't want to have giant solar farms on agricultural land, because with global heating, we're already in trouble with food production, and that's going to get worse. We can't do it all with rooftop solar. We must have an enormous increase in solar power stations in the deserts and dry lands where the resource is the most abundant, therefore solar power is the cheapest. Essentially, we got to wire up the world to connect everybody to the best locations for solar, wind, and hydropower. Hydropower will have the role of balancing fluctuations in solar and wind power, but the more we can harness renewable energy over a wide area on a continental scale, the more we can smooth out local fluctuations in solar and wind. The more we can connect up deserts and other key solar locations east to west, the longer the solar day, the less storage we need for the nighttime, because if you think of India and the Gulf, for example, a natural connection to make, in the morning, before the sun is up in the Arabian Peninsula, India, from the Thar Desert and other parts of India, could be exporting solar power westward through cables under the Arabian Sea. Likewise, in the as India hits its evening peak and everyone's cooking their dinner, the sun is still high in Western Saudi Arabia and from the Arabian Peninsula and the Middle East and even North Africa, you could be exporting solar power east to India. So that's just an example. We need to be thinking big, and we need to be moving fast. And I think the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and the government of India is really key here.
Thank you, Nick. Now, Nick, the European super grid has been working now for several years and could be a reference point for One Sun, One World initiative. If you look at the European super grid, solar from Southern Europe like Spain and Italy, pumped hydro in the Nordic countries, wind both offshore and onshore in the Western Europe, including UK, or even the nuclear in France. Now, they have been interacting with each other as part of the European super grid saving millions of dollars every year. Now, this could be a reference point for One Sun, One Grid to move forward. A recent statement by the UK government of interconnecting 40 gigawatts of wind to the Europe is a welcome step in that direction. Now, please share your experience how European supergrid could help in this One Sun, One World initiative.
Yes, well, as you say, it's a excellent example of what can be done. Europe, like every region in the world, has enough renewable energy to meet its own energy needs for not only current uses of electricity, but to electrify transport, home heating, and so on, now and forever. Every continent and every region has more than enough renewable energy. And part of the European discussion of a kind of European supergrid, which the European Union is gradually moving towards, extends beyond Europe. Part of the vision is that there should be undersea cables between Europe and North Africa and the Middle East, so that Europe can benefit from unlimited, cheap, reliable solar and wind power from its nearest desert, which is the Sahara and the Arabian Desert. So we need to, as we think about Europe, we should really be thinking of the Europe-Mediterranean region, including the southern and eastern parts of the Mediterranean region, which have the best solar power of all. Yes, Britain is well aware that it could be, as the British Prime Minister has been saying recently, the Saudi Arabia of wind power. And Britain's a good example of what you can do with interconnection. Within a couple of years, Britain will have 11 gigawatts of transmission capacity through undersea cables between Britain and neighboring countries in all directions: Ireland, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, Norway. So Britain will be able to trade, import or export, around 20% of its power supply. And that's going to keep increasing over time, which means that on days when it's blowing hard in Britain, Britain can be an exporter of cheap surplus wind power to other countries. On those rare days when it's not blowing hard in Britain, then it can be an importer of renewable energy from elsewhere. So the European Union has been working towards a single electricity market for Europe for some time, and this has included taking a number of steps to encourage the construction of long-distance, high-voltage direct current cables that can connect up the different national grids in different parts of Europe. Again, I just go back to what I was saying earlier, which is it's all great. It's like everything else we need to do to stop climate change. It's all happening. It's just not happening yet at the speed and scale that we need. So we need to step up the ambition everywhere, including in Europe. I think the European Union is a natural partner for India and others in doing this. The motivation is there in the European Commission for sure. I think if India and Europe and other major players around the world can get together and share experience and pool resources and do the studies and so on, there can be a big sort of catalyst effect from One Sun, One World, One Grid. And I really see, I come back to India here, I see India and the Prime Minister of India as being able to play a unique role in making that happen.